Kindly raise your hand if you are male. Now please raise them if you're female. Would it be right for me to claim that one group's life is worth more than the other? I think we can all agree that such a question has no place in the heart of a Christian. The natural sex ratio in human populations around the world sees 106 boys born for every 100 girls. Today, the widespread availability of gender-selective abortion has skewed those numbers, with the disproportion, at times, in certain Asian cultures, reaching as high as 125 boys for every 100 girls. Gender-selective abortion is unethical and is a lethal form of discrimination that devalues women, undermining their potential contribution to a well-functioning society as designed by our Creator. For 3 months in 1996, a group of British journalists with hidden cameras made their way into orphanages in China. Their goal was to find out what became of the millions of baby girls who were abandoned each year because of the one-child policy that was in place from 1979 to 2015. The 40-minute documentary was entitled "The Dying Rooms." For many human rights groups, the heartbreaking scenes of abuse and neglect needed to be brought to light. There were babies being dumped in the street like kittens in a sack, to whom names were attached like luggage tags, who were tied to each other on communal benches, and who had been denied nourishment, medicine, and physical touch. They were left alone to cry endlessly and die in cold, windowless rooms. The saddest part, nearly all of them were girls. That was a common scene in China 30 years ago, a place and time many of us in this room know nothing about. But here's the hard truth. That form of injustice still exists in our world today, but it has evolved into something far more sinister. Why wait to let unwanted baby girls die in orphanages when it would be easier to just terminate them in the womb? In many Asian cultures, particularly in China and India, boys are preferred over girls because of deep-rooted cultural, economic, and social factors. Male descendants carry the family name and are seen as future providers and caregivers for their aging parents. This mindset, along with the mandate China had in place, has resulted in an estimated 142 million missing women. Girls who were never born because they were aborted simply because they were the wrong gender. As the Chinese would say, with one son you have a descendant. With 10 daughters you have nothing. What a disheartening statement to hear for any girl in existence, including myself. Americans also have long favored boys over girls, a bias rooted in traditional gender roles. Since 1941, Gallup polls have found that if American couples could only have one child, they would choose a son. More recent data found that 36% would prefer having a boy, while 28% would prefer a girl. While mothers are evenly split on their preference, 43% of fathers would prefer a son, to only 24% who prefer a daughter. When God created man to rule over the earth, He saw the need for man to have a companion. Men and women have different strengths, roles, and responsibilities that equal a complete partnership, which is an important part of God's perfect design. Without the other, neither is able to fulfill their divine purpose. 1 Corinthians 11:11 states, "Nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman, neither the woman without the man in the Lord." In 2004, the term designer baby became an official entry in the Oxford English Dictionary, and it has become a divisive topic in bioethical debates. With pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, a doctor creates multiple embryos for the purpose of testing them for genetic abnormalities while revealing the gender of the baby in the process. If one or more embryos is less than ideal and not of the desired sex, they are destroyed without question. While parents have the right to plan their family structure, there is a fine line that must be drawn between what is acceptable and what is morally reprehensible. A sickening example of this happened in 2022 when a homosexual couple in California sued a fertility clinic on the grounds that they ordered 2 boys but received a girl instead. When parenthood is nothing but a means to fulfill one's selfish desires, it demeans the inherent value and dignity of those children. So we ask ourselves, what can we do to put an end to what has become a war against women? I strongly believe that the words baby and unwanted should never ever be spoken in the same sentence. Even when circumstances may not be what is desirable or suitable for a family, terminating a pregnancy should not be considered an option. Sometimes the most loving and selfless choice a parent can make is to put their child up for adoption and give them a chance to thrive. There should also be strict regulation guarding the misuse of prenatal testing technology, because it only brings doubt and confusion to the minds of expectant parents. As of January 2026, only 8 states have enacted laws banning sex-selective abortion. H.R. 3541, the Prenatal Non-Discrimination Act of 2012, was a federal bill aimed at prohibiting sex-selective abortion in all 50 states. Unfortunately, despite several iterations in Congress over the last 14 years, the bill faced major opposition and failed to receive enough votes to become a law. Regardless, we cannot accept defeat and must continue fighting for the rights of every unborn child. The practice of gender-based abortion is the greatest form of discrimination against women because God has blessed both genders with purpose and meaning. Whether a child is growing in the womb or is a viable embryo in a laboratory, he or she has the right to life, and it is our God-given duty to defend it at all costs. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was an incredibly difficult time, as anybody who sat here and watched it can tell. We had a generous donor who is going to give $50 to each participant that made it this far. These will all be awarded at a future date at the school. Now, I would like to present our actual winners. And for third place, which the student receives a $100 award, plus their parents receive a $100 award also, so that they can use as a scholarship. And that would be Lindsay Richards. And then second place, and the student will receive a $200 award, and their parents will receive a $250 award, and that is Alyssa Boucher. And competing at their state competition, and with a $300 award and a $500 scholarship to her parents, is Jayla Bush. Thank you all so much for participating.